say evening, and very happy and delighted for this programs. And it's the Sudanese Intellectual Programs, episode 9. It has been quite a long time not to proceed for our programs due to some circumstances, but from today on, we try to manage it to sustain, and we carry on to discuss this all programs ideas. It has more to do with intellectuality and discussing many subjects. And for today's session is that we have the subject says subjectivity versus objectivity, and could be discussed like subjectivity. We go to the spiritual world, immaterial world, religions, and then we go and sense the objectivity to the world, like it says materialism, science, anything that humans try to take it into level of sensing it, or has to be having an evidence in it. So, and then we discuss the dichotomy of the knowledge, if knowledge are divided into two, even if the truth could be objective truths or subjective truths. Sometimes people say objectivity, it has nothing to do with the truth, but has something to do with the factuality and things like that. So with my guest, Mr. Neseraldeen. You're highly welcome.
Hello everybody, thanks a lot, Amu, for having me here.
Yes.
I'm really happy to be back here at EMC. It's been a while, and I'm also really happy to be a part of this interesting conversation.
Yes.
As Omar said, this is going to be about complicated topics, but I don't want to give you this impression that this is going to be so that complicated.
Yeah.
We're just two individuals who are trying to make sense of everything that we think. So some of what we're going to say is our opinions and maybe other people's opinions. But yeah, so mainly we're going to talk about subjectivity versus objectivity.
Yeah.
But over the course of the conversation, I'm sure we're going to talk about other things as well.
A lot of aspects.
Exactly.
Intellectually, yes.
Yeah, sure.
So what is the definition of objectivity and subjectivity? And do you think they can go variously?
I think they're actually the opposites, the opposites of each other, because subjectivity means that, when we say that this is subjective, we mean that this might be true for you personally, but not for somebody else. And so that's subjective. And usually, for me personally, when I want to make things easier, when I want to make the difference between subjectivity and objectivity easier, I always try to associate subjectivity with personal experience or personal opinions, because again, when we say that this is subjective, it means that this is true for you personally, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true for everybody else. Objective is just the opposite. It's true regardless of whether you believe that or not, or regardless of whether you know that or not.
You are saying subjectivity is it's kind of personal experience and personal truth, and we can take the term esotericism or esoteric experience for only one person can go through it. But why you don't say subjectivity? It exists because the limitation of the human mind, for example, the world is divided into two levels, in the paradoxical levels, like the side of a coin that we can sense, we can feel, and the second side of the coin we can touch, we can see, we can analyze, which is regarded as objectivity. But why don't take the subjectivity into a level of the human mind? It kind of metaphysical, understanding. It lie behind our ideas. Mind is variable, not understanding it. That's why we say this is subjective things. But why is it? It's personal. If it's personal, everyone perhaps going to experience it.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying that this is personal because maybe everybody experiences that, but then like you can't prove that to anyone else other than yourself. And
subjective proofs, not the objective requirement.
exactly, like the subjective truth that you have, you can prove it to yourself, but then you can't prove it to other people. Like, or maybe you believe. Doesn't necessarily mean that you know, but maybe you believe or you know that this is true, and you have your own like arguments or maybe reasons and everything for supporting your opinion, but then you can't prove it to be true for everybody else. And also, you said that I'm saying like subjectivity is only true for one person. No, it could be a group of people. For example, for me personally, I think religious beliefs are subjective because you can find a group of people who believe in the same thing, but they can't prove it to the rest of other people who don't believe in the same thing.
Yeah, we are in the same boat, but it's somehow we are in a different side in the same boat. But you're riding from one of the wing, But I'm saying is, I'm sensing the sense of the subjectivity to something human yet to experience, something human yet to understand, something human is struggling to get it, but there is a great possibility that we can get it perfectly or 100%. For example, the existence of the God. So it's subjective things. The human mind cannot, have to have the objective evidence, which is only relying on it. So beliefs are not yet to be occur or happen practically. Those are remaining are the subjective. So you agree? I do agree. But there are some concepts that human mind cannot envision or imagine it. So whatsoever human couldn't imagine it for today, and do you regard them as they are subjective things, yet we experience personally or collectively? We don't experience. So they are subjective, let's say, whether knowledge or subjective world, human never seen directly. So do you think there's even level of subjectivity? There's a level one, we might feel it collectively or personally, but the second level, which is a deeper intellectual subjectivity, we can't sense, we can't see it, because we're human beings. We've been created, so that's why we rely on belief.
Created?
We have been created.
What do you mean created?
I don't know.
Okay, first, I don't actually like. Let me start with the last point that you made. Human beings were like created to be this or that. I don't actually believe in creation, so we can have a discussion about that. But you said that when we say this is subjective, we mean that this is a thing that maybe humans never experienced before, or maybe a metaphysical thing. But I don't actually call that subjective. The things that I don't know, I don't call them subjective. I call them the unknown, because I don't know it. Again,
I don't know it. You can say, I don't believe it.
Exactly, I can say I don't believe it, or I don't know it, because when I call something subjective, I call it subjective because there is a person here saying that this is actually true, and I know it.
Okay.
But when you ask them for evidence, maybe they're gonna say like I can't really prove it. So it's true for them.
Okay.
That's why it's their opinion, which is subjective. But I can't really take that as truth.
Yeah, I really interested in the point that you say the creation or creationism, but we come back later on.
Okay.
Let's rely on the second definition of objectivity, which you say objectivity, it has to do with sensing it, seeing it, touching it, which is directly in a vacuum of
No, I'm not saying that.
What's the definition?
I'm saying that objectivity is, like when we say that this thing is objective, we mean that this can be proven. Not necessarily touching it, not necessarily feeling it, but you can do some kind of experiment where you can show that this is true to everybody, not just like a certain group of people or an individual.
So the conclusion is objectivity is the center of the science.
Yes, science is actually really objective.
And the factual thing.
Yes.
So what do you call for something that's scientifically yet to be explained or known?
The unknown.
The unknown. In a subjective thing that you're yet to not experience personally,
no.
Collectively, you say the unknown.
No.
And the here tools with processing through the objective and materialism, you say the unknown. So you're using the same terms into different doors. You're using the same key, opening more than one door. Right?
No. The unknown is a thing that you don't know. Like we humans don't know it.
Alright, so what's the difference between something?
It's not actually the synonym of.
No, I'm just coming. It's a synonym because you use the same word. Unknown in the subjective world and the unknown in objective world.
No.
But the way you express it is you use the same term. I want to see the different word, to describe the situation that you're saying. What is the difference between the subjective unknown and objective unknown?
No, okay. The main difference for me between the unknown and subjective, the unknown is a thing that we don't know as human beings.
So generalization is,
for example, we don't know whether there is afterlife. We don't know. Okay.
Objectively. This is objectively, or even objectively.
No, this is the unknown.
The unknown, which lacks of the factuality, but not lack of truth level.
What do you mean? I mean, there is a possibility that there might be afterlife, but then we don't know it. So we call it the unknown.
So scientifically, I agree with you. We call it unknown, but in the subjective world, which is includes things that we don't see as human included. Religion is one of the elements. Belief concepts, one of the elements of subjective. Even ideas are independently existed there. Things that we don't touch. Even knowledge is in the subjective realm, not in an objective realm, I could say. So things you don't have. That kind of saying, or things are divided into two categories. Right? Both categories, they can go parallel, but they cannot, sense the same color, for example. So what I'm just saying is, why you don't say, as it says, like, science has 1, 2, 3 as equality. For example, materialism is science element. And immaterialism is a subjective element, which is included religion, as we've discussed. Why you don't use a different term? Why you use the same word? We will call, even if we don't know something, we call unknown. Yet, we will call something that we don't experience yet, personally and collectively. We call it even the unknown,
So I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure I'm getting the point that you're trying to make. But again, like the difference between the unknown and the subjective is that the unknown is a thing that we don't know. An example of that would be the afterlife. We don't know whether there's afterlife or not. But when we say that this is subjective, we mean that there is maybe a certain group of people who believe that this might be true. No, not might be true. They believe that this is actually true, but then maybe the evidence that they provide for the reasons why they believe that this is true are not convincing for everybody. So they have their own reasons to believe that. That's what makes it subjective. But then, like, that's it. They can only convince themselves, but not everybody else.
Okay, we stick to the definitions and statements, I think much. Let's move to the point. You say you don't think you have to believe on creationism or creations. Creations of anything. Do you think creationism is a subjective or objective? In terms of understanding it, in terms of regarding it, in terms of recognizing it, is it a creationism? It's the subjective realm or world, or it is objective sense?
No, I think actually I think creationism is a really good example of subjectivity.
Yeah,
Because
that's it. So because lack of sensing or sensed by everyone, like lack of being experienced by everyone.
no. It's actually a lack of evidence that would convince everyone, and it's also a lack of scientific evidence that can be shown. Like, yeah, there is people who believe in creationism, but then the reasons that they provide for why they believe in creationism are reasons that are totally based maybe on their faith, or maybe a metaphysical things that nobody can actually prove.
I think we need to discuss a point of, is knowledge divided into subjective and objective?
Sure, yeah. That's what
Knowledge.
we've been talking about. Yes.
What is the subjective knowledge?
The subjective knowledge is the kind of knowledge that we've been talking about. For example, somebody claiming that they know that God exists.
Okay, good.
This is actually subjective.
No, I agree.
Because they can't prove it to anyone else.
Okay, I agree.
Objective knowledge is like saying that the earth is round. This is actually a scientific fact, and it can be proven. You can go to a physicist, not just a physicist. You can go to a lab with a physicist, and they can explain to you and show you that this is actually true.
And do you divide the truth into objective and subjective?
Sure, yes.
What
Again, I'm going to give you the same examples. Wait, when somebody says that they know or their religion is absolute truth, this is actually subjective truth, because it's only true for them or for those who believe in their religion, but then it's not true for everybody else. It's true for them because they have faith that this is true. This is subjective truth. But again, when somebody says that, when somebody says that the earth is round, this is truth.
You're kind of using the same example.
Exactly.
No, because when you use the same sense, then you are mixing. You don't need to even have two terms, objective and subjective. You rely on one thing, and then you point it into two aspects. For example, like, does it make sense? Like, for example, objective is pointed as objective into two-sided. Objective itself, there is material aspects and there is immaterial aspect. Objective itself, and then you are.
How is that? Can you explain more?
For example, you were saying is that, for example, scientifically, the ideas that we are not yet to be experienced, or we go through it in lab or in testing it, the evidence are not yet there, but we still call them subjective.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You have said.
No.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this: when you think or believe that this is absolutely true, again, I'm going to use the religious example. When somebody believing in a religion says that their religion is absolute truth, this is true for them. This is subjective truth. When somebody says the earth is round, this is true scientifically and it can be proven. So it's subjective truth because it can be proven to everybody.
Okay, all right, good. In terms of knowledge divided into objectivity and subjectivity, I'm kind of interested that I don't need to say knowledge is divided into subjective and objectivity. I could say knowledge is divided, knowledge is itself has sense a lot with subjectivity, not even with the object. Because we don't feel like ideas are objective, sorry, subjective. Ideas are things that we don't feel. Like ideas is like our mind, we don't see it, but we go through it as if it's existed within our, the vacuum of our brain, also it's within our head.
I don't think I agree with that. I don't think every idea is subjective.
All right, okay. Then if not, then what is the difference between the knowledge and information?
I'm not sure I can tell the difference between knowledge and information.
So for me, if you can't, then I can tell you. I could say knowledge is a subjective, mostly, not 100%. But even mostly, information is the objective, which relay
objective.
Knowledge, sorry, information, for example, when you say information is drawn or it's trust originated from the word inform, all right, tell, you take it from a source, a book, which is this objective sense, there's materialism in it. That's why you get it. You take information from a specific source, whether it's a teacher or a book or website, but there is a sense of its physical evidence are there, they existed. So that's why we say, I could agree that this is the objective knowledge. Science is telling us a lot about information, but yet it doesn't mean science has nothing called or has nothing to do with knowledge. So yes, science has a lot to do with the knowledge because science is about evolving, moving on. And when you say moving and evolving to the level of ideas, because we don't see the ideas, but still we believe our mind ideas, we rely on it, we rely on its justification of our object, even our subject. So that's why can we conclude to say knowledge is the objective and this, knowledge is the subjective and information is objective?
No, I think I disagree.
Okay, why?
I think the opposite is true. I think information is subjective, not necessarily every information.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, you said knowledge is subjective and information is objective. Do you mean the opposite?
Yeah, I feel like they are different. It has to go in verse. One require evidence, the second doesn't require any evidence of even forging itself. For example, I say knowledge. Like knowledge is what something is you don't see.
Right.
Ideas, you see your ideas. You don't see your ideas, right?
Yeah.
So why you believe on them if you don't see it?
Because I don't actually believe in every idea that I have. For example, I have an idea about God. I don't believe it.
Okay, but
also I have I have a lot of other ideas. I don't necessarily believe every idea that I have. But again, I want to get back to the difference between knowledge and information. I think information can be subjective and it can also be objective. For example, I can, like right now we're sitting here, somebody can come from outside and give us a piece of information. Somebody can tell us something. This is actually a piece of information. This might be true and it might be false, but that information can get to the level of knowledge when we verify that this is true, and maybe we go out and check that this is actually true, or maybe the person provides more evidence for why this is true, and we can take that as knowledge. But then when somebody just tells you something, you can't say that this is knowledge and this is like objective. So I think the main difference is that information can be objective in the sense that somebody like for example, Google is a piece of information, like Wikipedia. Like it's a piece of information, but I think it's objective because
it's not as objective because
it is.
Google had its locations, exists the source and exists the precise physical location.
That's why I'm saying it's objective.
You say subjective.
No, I said it's objective.
Objective.
Right.
But the thing that within the software, they are subjective.
Well, how is that?
Software, we don't feel it.
No, like having a subjective thing is not about feeling.
No, I don't mean like feeling directly, but I think you can't touch it. I can use the word.
Again, it's not about
software,
touching. It's not about touching either.
Computer, for example, divided into software and hardware. So the software is the thing that inside, like as if same goes to our mind is a software, and then the hardware is our brain, which has the material evidence that we can touch. So the same thing we touch in the laptop, which is not a software. We touch the hardware, like keyboard is the hardware, for example. So
no, I think there is a. I think I disagree here. I don't think the
ideas are software.
No, I don't think the software part of Google is subjective. I think Google and its software programs are objective in the sense that you can experience it. You can have a real experience with Google. Like you can check whether Google is actually there or not. So it's not just subjective. And again, I don't think when we say that something is subjective, we don't necessarily mean that we can't touch it. Yeah, like there is subjective things that we can't touch, but there is also objective things that we can touch. Again, the idea of Google, I think it's an objective thing because right now you can check whether it's there or not. The internet, it's all.
But you don't touch the information there. You can touch the physical location, I only say, and you agree with me. But generally, for example, let's rely on the mind and brain. So mind is independent subject, and the brain is dependable subject.
Right.
Not the subject, is dependable object, which is you have the vacuum, this skeleton, that there is a brain inside. And then within the brain, there is a mind, which is a software. You agree?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I'm getting the point that you're trying to make.
I'm saying is, in the end, the conclusion is that I felt that, like, you divide knowledge as the knowledge itself, one aspect into two aspects, and then information as one aspect into two aspects. I'm saying is knowledge and information, they are only sided to the one coin, but you are saying could be the different coin. So the coin of the knowledge is different than the coin of this information. The same, the coin of the mind is different than the coin of the brain. I'm saying is that one coin has two-sided, with one side is the mind and the second side is the brain. So the side that you see is objective. You see is like has material evidence, factual evidence, and the side that is subjective you don't see, then that's immaterial evidence. You don't touch it, and perhaps we can say yet to be understood or yet to be explored. With your calling that they are unknown, like because I somehow can't sense that the unknown of the knowledge and the unknown of the information. You know, the way you are describing things. I'm saying you're doing the same thing. You're just making it two parts. You're splitting it two parts. It's just the same.
No, I actually have this sense of you connecting subjective or objective to being touchable, and subjective being this abstract thing that we can't touch. And I think I can agree with that to some extent, but then it doesn't necessarily mean that every subjective thing is a thing that we can't touch. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that every objective thing is a thing that we can literally touch. Again, there is objective things that we can actually touch. I just gave you the example of Google, like the computers and every physical thing that you can touch. This is actually part of Google, but also you can't actually ignore the software programs. They're real and they're actually objective.
Let's boost the discussion to the somehow it's much vivid level. For example, saying science coined it was a religion, you know. The side that
science, right?
Science and religion. They are in one object, but one side of the object is being seen and observed by science or scientists, and then the other side of that body or object is not yet to be observed, but it's sided. It's from the same thing, but it's not split it from it. Some things like this thing we can see, but the second side we can't see. So that's why we rely on the beliefs. For example, knowing is a scientific process. Knowing is material. Knowing is physical, factual. But believing it's immaterial. It's spiritual. You can't touch. So that's why, for example, I was usually use the point of: do you believe you have two hands, or you know that you have two hands? How could you say? How can you answer? Do you believe you have two hands?
No, I know that I have two hands.
So you don't need to believe, yeah?
And well, I know, and I don't need to believe that because
good. You don't need to believe.
Exactly.
Why you don't need to believe?
Because I know it.
Because you know it. You have a physical evidence.
Right.
Exactly. So belief and knowing, they are one thing but two-sided.
No.
For example, do you want to say belief itself is there in the world that even it's not close to the world of objectivity? You divide the belief itself as the independent subjective coin, like it itself has two-sided, independently, or you can't see it, you can't express it, you can't touch it. But we say, all right, there is, for example, in the prior you were saying, there are lots of ideas about God, but I don't believe it. All right, those ideas that you feel it has connection with our life, our existence itself, like the connection whereby we take the one side of the wheel, and then the other side is not yet reached, so you can catch in the wheel or the rope, and then you move on to the final point. So I think the things are connected. I think you are saying no, they are not connected.
They're not connected.
They are separate. So that's exactly what entire our discussion was. We need to separate. I'm saying is they are connected. Like what do you say for?
I want to say something about.
For example, this is the paper. It's sided, right? Sided with the two sides, but I could say fortunately or unfortunately, the both sided has the same color. All right, you call it what? This side.
What do you mean? I call it what?
Like you see this side, but you don't see the second side. How do you express the second side? Unknown.
Like I'm not getting.
All right.
I'm actually not getting the question. I can see the two sides.
Two-sided. But the two-sided, sometimes two-sided, but in the same color, so in the same look. So that's why you imagine that, oh, it's this paper has two-sided, then the second side even is wide, so I can feel or have to say like, oh, there are some same elements are in that side, the same component is created. Then the paper not supposed to have two-sided, it's supposed to have one-sided. Why? Because it's the same thing, it's one color. There is the neatness to create a sided paper. So that's why it's kind of immaturely there. But what I'm just saying is,
I'm actually not getting the point about the papers, but I want to say this about the point earlier that you were making about like science versus religion and everything.
okay,
I think it's like really unfair to put science and religion in the same category because
not in the same category.
also it's also really unfair to say that religion is actually a competitor to science
No,
because
you're putting words, yeah.
no, I mean, actually, you made a comparison between them, which is again unfair.
I'm saying, I'm not saying they. Why don't take the word they are parallel? You know, they go in one direction, but in
No,
a different way.
they don't.
We say what it should supposedly one should go in the north and one in the south.
No, actually, I think one is going in a direction,
Right.
and the other one is just there.
Where the
It's just there, and it's not going anywhere. Because
How?
I mean, okay,
This is
that's
so
actually an interesting question.
This is too funny for me.
No, it's not funny.
It
It's
is.
actually true. I can explain that. Okay, the religious beliefs are not open to any, like, to any
Discussion.
no, to any to any I'm actually looking for a word, but anyways, the religious beliefs are not actually open to any improvement because they're absolute truth. Everybody should believe in them, and religious people actually use the word faith and the word belief for a reason because they can't prove what they have, and so they actually say that we have faith that what we think is true, and that's it. Like, it's one idea, and that idea is like
Okay.
like compatible with like every time, every generation, and every change that happens in the world. That's why I'm saying that religion is there, and it's only fixed there, and it's not making any progress. Science,
Yeah, I get-
science on the other hand, is
Kinda.
no science on the other hand is heading towards a really interesting direction where it always discovers new things and it gets better, and it's also open to criticism. You know, like a scientist can criticize another scientist, or maybe a scientist can like figure out something today, and tomorrow if they figure out a different thing or a thing that disproves what they figure out today, they're gonna just dismiss what they figure out today and take the new thing.
You know that I could call it a problem. You know.
Why is it a problem?
No, I could just call, for example, you as if I sense like, okay, there are two people. They went to journey. One is went in the north, and the second is went to the south.
No, the other one is just there,
Okay.
sitting there.
Not agree. Okay, good. Two people they have agreed to go to journey, and they supposed to start at the same time, move in a different direction. So it's this the one who go in the north. Let's say the science, or science element. All right, but the problem is that you assuming that I let that guy. I think he's still in that location. He never moved anywhere. And you think, since I almost have some evidence that there is a sense of enjoyment in that discoveries, there's a sense of updation, there are new things are there, new ideas are coming, so we are learning it, we are developing it. You have that sense. But you don't experience this guy. Perhaps he's in the same place, but he sends and he achieved far greater than what you achieve in a way because you don't yet retain from your journey. You're not yet to come in this position to understand what he's saying.
But I think that's actually.
I'm just finished. You're just making a claim and conclusion from your, long journey from there.
No.
You say, I think Mr. Omer, he's went to the journey in his house, but I think he never went, but he still is staying in his chair. He's not making any progress. And you're just making claim and you're throwing, unjustified points. You're not yet even arrived, you haven't come back. Why you don't come back, which is you come and sit on my chair, you feel what I feel, you believe, go to experience level in my belief concept, and then come and make a conclusion.
No, but I think
you're
this
just
is,
claiming it.
no, I think this is a really, I think this is the analogy that you're making is so, I don't know, like it's really the analogy that you're making is wrong, because I'm not just making claims about one like system of ideas is fixed and it's permanent and it never changes, and the other one is always discovering new things. No, wait. Actually, when I say that religion never changes, it's true, because every religious belief, not every religious belief, but the main religions that we know, their beliefs are fixed. 5 prayers every day. Here I'm talking about 5 prayers every day. Fasting. Religion only gives you instructions, like this is true and this is wrong. You have to follow what's true, or this is right and this is wrong. You have to follow what's right.
That's the same thing.
And you have to avoid what's wrong. But science never. Science is not like that. Science is about experiments. Science is about like providing real evidence that can be shown to everybody. And again, like it's not dogmatic. You can like, again, a scientist can figure out something today, and if tomorrow that scientist figures out a new thing, they're gonna change their mind and be on the other side.
Again, what you're saying is somehow still I regard it like lack of experience in my life experience. It means that you don't know how severe, the suffering I go through.
I'm not talking about suffering here.
For example, no, I'm saying, for example,
just not have anything to do with suffering.
No, understand. Take the idea. Don't go to literalism. If I go to literalism, I could say, okay, literally, science itself has its own restriction. It says you should not believe in anything that you don't see. So that's the science making restriction.
No. Science does not say that. No, wait.
We should rely always on physical evidence.
No, not necessarily physical.
So don't believe in the
science believes, not believes. Science provides evidence for whatever thing that we're doing experiments on, and it doesn't say that you don't have to believe. Wait. It doesn't say you don't have to believe, but science shows you this is like
the way to process.
This is most likely, and this is unlikely or less likely. So you have the choice whether you're going to take that or just dismiss it. But science has nothing about has nothing to say about whether you should believe or not. And again, another interesting point, like, I don't know, you keep repeating this point about physical evidence. Evidence does not necessarily have to be physical.
That's which you proved on my point.
How is that?
Which is my spiritual beliefs, my subjective,
But spiritual beliefs are not evidence. That's why we call them beliefs, not evidence.
Do you think human, they can go with the same level of understanding and the same level of experience, same process of one person go, like let's say you went from this street almost 1 year before, and the second year somebody else came. Do you want to say the same object, the same looks, the same feeling that you felt before should be the same if someone came from the same
No.
place? It's not, right?
Yes.
All right. So as long as you say like that, I'm saying is, I think like, okay, I think like I came after you. I think you don't know how I experience or how I feel, so you cannot reject mine and say no. I think I went through that road or street. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. If you make a different claim or different opinion, then the thing that I saw there, then yours is bullshit, or it should
No.
be regarded as.
But that's not what science is about. That's not what science is about. Science is about examining and testing things regardless of personal experience. What you're talking about is personal experience. I can experience a thing and come and talk to you about my experience. You can experience the same thing and come and talk to me about your experience. Our experiences are going to be different. But that's not what science is about. Science is about taking the observation and examining it and coming up with what is likely and what is less likely.
So my conclusion to the science is like somewhat changed based on your discussion and mine, I guess. Science is kind of chameleon,
How is that? In a sense, it is. In a sense, it is, because it can change depending on the conclusions and the evidence that it gets from the experiments that we do.
So people regard the chameleon is somehow self-serving, because
that's true.
Due to your own personal interest, you want to fit with the situation. That's it. You change. Where not saying, all right, I don't change for them, but I require those should change and fit with me. Right? Society is not saying you change and come. Science itself is trying to change, and it sounds like the science sense like it's too tolerant, it's too forgiving, and that's why it's decaying to the level of changing itself and emerge and joining the other side. As long as the practical evidence existed or material evidence existed, so it's just a chameleon, as I say.
But I think the interesting thing about science is that, like, scientific facts are not dogmatic. Like you can like what scientists do is that they do their experiments and everything, and they provide the evidence. They explain it to the lay person, and they always give the option for the people. But I think dogmatic ideas are different than that, because the dogmatic ideas always have consequences when you don't believe in them. Again, like a good example to take here is religion. Even though the religious truth that you see is actually subjective, but if you don't take it, there's actually a punishment for you, even if it's not here in the afterworld, or the afterlife.
Okay. In reply, you say science is progressing and moving and changing. And
sure.
We conclude to say science letter is a chameleon.
It's interesting that you're replacing the word science with chameleon. Maybe I should
describing it.
Add that to my vocabulary.
And then you're saying, oh, religion is never moving, it just stick there. and you don't know why it's stick there, I think, or you don't take the a well justified understanding or views that there is a necessity of sticking here. There is necessity of someone saying, I think 1, 2, 3 are correct, so we need to not to even process it through. Like the same thing, science has a level of the let's say experience. Science rely on experience, but does science rely on everybody experience? Should be if it experience became different. So how science would go like that? Is it have the two phase? Like
I'm not sure.
you go on like a doctor, if you want to diagnose or let's say trying to figure out somebody's disease, in the lab. You take the blood and then you went to the lab and you tested and you do, and your results you keep it there. Another doctor came up and said the same thing and do it to the same doctor. But I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, the results became different. So you want to say one of the results it's not scientifically based, or you say both of them are scientifically based, but why then is it different?
Maybe there is a difference in the way they conduct the scientific experiment.
If it's the same person who goes the same pain and same feeling of it, same blood level, same blood type, but the result is different. Let's say they have goes through 2 times, 3 times, but still the result became different. One came from the 2 doctors. So is this something this is scientifically justified? I think it's gonna be justified scientifically. It's scientifically justified that they should be at the same conclusion, the same result.
That's actually what scientists try to do.
Like always, conclude it is 1 or 2.
No, they try to conclude that there is reliable evidence that we can rely on more. Because
why reliable evidence sources from the 2 different things? Like
if we do an experiment on the same thing and we have 2 different results, I think a genuine scientist would do the experiment like 1,000 times to figure out whether there is a difference. And again, like that's exactly what scientists do. They always try to challenge themselves with new experiments. That's why we have these
no interesting. Okay, generally, let's move to the second point, which is the science.
I really want to say something about the necessity of okay. I just want to say something about the necessity of having fixed beliefs. I think we can talk about this in another discussion, but I don't think there is any necessity for fixed beliefs, because we're human beings and we learn every day and we change. Like the person that I was 10 years ago is totally different than the person that I am today. So I think we're human beings and we learn every day and we change over the course of our lives.
Okay, so the conclusion is, do you think religion has its own achievements to the human life, and even science has its own achievement to the human life? I think I get your answer. You say yes, science has a great achievement to the human life and affected, but religion is just living. A lazy person is a religious one.
Unfortunately, I actually agree with that, and I think religion used to be really useful, but not anymore. I think that's kind of my opinion.
All right, good. All right, thank you very much for listening. Because of time, we shall meet on the next episode.
Thanks a lot.